If you could travel to any country, where would you go? How many countries do you think there are in the world? Take a guess and stay tuned to find out later in the episode. Does trying something new or daring excite you? If you've ever dreamed of a life of adventure, you won't want to miss this episode. Today we'll meet Jessica Nabongo, a real adventurer who, in 2019, became the first documented Black woman to visit every country in the world. What does being an adventurer mean to you?
Climbing big mountains.
Exploring strange places.
Let's find out more. Hi, and welcome to Grown Up with Emily, a Lingokids podcast that helps kids discover how to be whatever they want to be. Are you ready to make adventuring your superpower?
Yeah!
Growing up, growing up.
To go on a hike, I always say, pack light, pack right, and
Pack snacks!
grab your backpacks, a light jacket, and a hat. What about sunblock?
Got it?
Water bottles filled?
Check!
Snacks?
Trail mix, apples, and cookies.
Great. I've got Band-Aids, a Swiss Army knife, and toilet paper, just in case. Oh, and a trail map. Let the adventure begin. When I do something new, I feel more alive.
Yeah, I feel nervous and excited.
There are 2 trails. Which should we take?
Should we check the map?
Let's flip a coin instead. Heads go left, tails go right.
Tails. The right trail.
Oh, there's a big hill.
Adventurers love a challenge. Imagine being an early explorer with no path to follow.
They must have been brave. Or just crazy.
Probably a little of both. Some were in search of treasures. They often got lost and ended up in strange places. Like Viking Bjarni Herjolfsson. In year 986, a storm pushed his ship to unknown land. He chose not to go ashore. Years later, Leif Erikson retraced the course and became the first European to set foot in North America. Some were in search of food and a better place to live.
Finding food out here would be hard.
What about those red berries?
They might be poisonous. Explorers were often scientists. They knew what was safe to eat, or they collected samples to study. Like Charles Darwin, during his adventures in the Galapagos Islands, he discovered plants and animals nobody had seen before.
I just discovered a cool mushroom.
Let's take them home.
We are eco-adventurers. We only take photos and leave footprints. The view was worth the effort.
Do all adventurers hike?
Adventurers hike, bike, kayak, swim, sail, climb, fly, or travel in their own special way. In the 1920s, Aloha Wonderwell, a Canadian-American teenager, drove a Ford Model T across 80 countries. Jane Goodall lived with chimpanzees in the jungle for years.
That's bananas.
Adventurers do things most people wouldn't dare to do. David Aston, founder of Adventure Hacks, prefers to hike barefoot in the dark. Many have jobs in a field of science, like Dr. Sylvia Earle, an oceanographer and the first person to dive 1,250 feet underwater. Others start with a passion for outdoor activities and then decide to help others become more adventurous.
Emily, what does an adventurer do if she has to use the bathroom?
She might go into the woods and dig a hole.
I was afraid you'd say that.
You're in luck. That sign says restrooms are that way. I've got a joke. You're on a hike and find a fork in the road. What do? Stop for lunch. Get it? Fork in the road.
I am kind of hungry.
Have a snack while we walk. I've got a question for you. If you could go anywhere, where would you go?
I'd go to the Galapagos Islands, like Charles Darwin, to see the giant tortoises.
The Galapagos is part of Ecuador.
I'd help save koalas like Adam Mudge, the firefighter we met from Australia.
Great choices. Hey, there's the restroom.
Phew, I'll be quick.
Let's wash our hands after that woman fills her water bottle. Hi there. Great day for a hike.
Hello. Yes, it is.
I like your shirt. Catch me if you can. What does that mean?
It's the title of my book about my travels.
Where have you traveled?
I've been to every single country in the world.
No kidding. I'm Emily.
I'm Jessica Nabongo.
How many countries are there?
Remember this question from the start of the show? There are 195 countries. It looks like we've met a real adventurer. Jessica, I'm with Lingokids, and we want to find out what it takes to be an adventurer. Can we ask some questions?
Of course.
First of all, what would you say are 3 things all adventurers need?
I think you have to be brave, you have to be curious, and you have to be open-minded.
Really interesting. We also received some excellent questions from our Lingokids listeners.
Jessica, do you often travel alone?
I do. I've been to 89 countries alone. I like to travel alone because it's easier for me to talk to people in new places when I'm by myself.
Wow, you definitely need to be brave for that. And how do you know what to pack?
By being prepared. So I look at the weather. I see what the temperature is to make sure I'm packing the appropriate clothes. I think about what activities I'm going to do to make sure I have the right shoes. And I have some staples that I always take with me no matter where I go. So I always have a reusable water bottle. It's really important to reduce our use of plastic, single-use plastic. I love to have a camera because I like to take pictures and share it with my friends and family when I'm back from my travels. And I really like to have headphones, so sometimes I can tune out the noise.
What do you do when you don't speak the language of the country that you're visiting?
Well, luckily, I speak English, and most people around the world, you will always find someone to speak English with you. So one thing I recommend is find someone who's kind of young, maybe 12 to 15 years old, because usually they're studying English in school and they can help you out.
And can you make friends with people who don't speak the same language as you?
Yes, of course. I've made friends all over the world, and open-mindedness is really important. So when you go into a new place, if you're open, you're able to meet new friends no matter where you are. We are more similar than we are different. So no matter what we look like, no matter what our religion is, I found that people around the world are the same. When I say we're more similar than we are different, it means that I can meet a friend anywhere. And so someone who is a stranger at first can become a friend very quickly, because even though I was born in the US and I'm from Uganda, I can meet someone in Jamaica or Myanmar or Italy, and we can become fast friends because we have similar interests.
Jessica, why did you become an adventurer?
I became an adventurer because my parents were adventurers. So when I was little, when I was 4, I took my first international trip to Canada, and every summer my family traveled. So whether we were camping in the US or going on a road trip or going to Uganda where my family is from, or to Mexico, Jamaica, we always found time in the summer to go on an adventure.
How did you decide you were going to visit every country?
So in my early 20s, I started a blog called The Catch Me If You Can. And it was a way for me to keep track of all of my adventures and share my adventures with my readers. And it was then that I started counting the number of countries that I would go to every year. And I loved to fill in the map so that I could see exactly how much of the world I visited.
And when did you finish filling it in?
I finished coloring in my map in October 2019.
What's the hardest thing about traveling?
Sometimes long flights can be really hard. I just came back from Brazil and it took me 21 hours to get home, and that was really challenging.
And what was the longest you had to fly?
The longest trip that I ever took was from Detroit, Michigan, my home, to Samoa in the South Pacific. It took 36 hours and 3 planes.
No kidding! Well, I don't know when I'll be able to set off on an adventure. I'm only 11.
Part of being an adventurer when you're at home is talking to other kids who may not seem that similar to you, but you may have an opportunity to learn something from them, especially if they're from a different country than you are, or if their parents are from a different country. So sometimes you can go on an adventure just through conversation.
Wow, Jessica, you have already done so much. Thanks for sharing. Jessica, what can kids do now while they're still growing up to become an adventurer?
I would say be curious and ask your parents if you can go on a road trip. Maybe you can help them plan it, if it's to a national park or if it's to the city next door. Do some research and share ideas with your parents on things that you want to explore. And I would also say get an atlas or a book about the world that can help you to learn more about places that you can't visit just yet, but that you can create a bucket list of.
I am going to start planning our next camping trip. And no toilet in the woods.
Jessica, what is one thing you never travel without?
I never travel without my passport.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growing Up Podcast. Even if you never plan to be a professional adventurer, with the right mindset, you can create adventure out of any experience. What's something new you'd like to try? Think about it. See you next time.
And to live a full interactive learning adventure, check out our Lingokids app with tons of games and activities for endless fun.
It's so fun to learn what you can be. Growing up, growing up. So come and join us, come everyone, so we can learn while having lots of fun. 'Cause it's so fun to learn what you can be. Yes, it's so fun to learn what you can be. Growing up, growing up, growing up.
Lingokids!
More songs, activities, and podcasts on our YouTube channels.
That was fun!